spheres, both political and public. You have mentioned that there are some cultural norms that affect on how people perceive GBV. Aside from the cultural norms, how else do you think that it is perceived, especially in politics and when we come to public participation? So this particular campaign, as you said, it is very important because you're sensitizing people against gender-based violence. You're really educating them on, you know, how crucial it is to kind of take a stance against gender-based violence. So what do you think are some of the, what is the outlook when it comes to gender-based violence, both in public and politics?
Being a professional psychological counselor, and having worked for a media house for about 8 years, the experience that I had before I was in politics is completely different from what I have now.
Wow.
I used to hear women politicians keep complaining about men are unfair in this field, but I was in a field where I really campaigned very strongly for the boy child. Until I got into politics and I realized men in politics believe politics is their world. It's not a world of women. And in very small things you'll be able to pick, like even when the leaders are taking photos with the president, you realize men will want to push all the women behind for them to just come and be just next to the president. To some people, it may not look like it is violent, but looking at it, the men are masculine, so they are strong. So with the elbow, they'll be able to push the women aside. And now that one being a very simple example, you look at it even from the other side now, outside where you are when it comes to the times of politics and campaigns and everything. And you realize it becomes very, it's not a very conducive environment for women.
Yes.
When you see a woman, let me not even just talk about a woman who is fighting for the seat of the woman rep, that is called the county MP, where you are only fighting with women.
Absolutely.
When you see a woman who is fighting for a constituency MP, a senator, a governor, you need to respect that woman who's fighting with 10 men who will at some point have a culture that our men believe in, reducing women by their sexuality. The African culture does not, when you start insulting women with their sexuality and trying to include their sexuality in the fights, then it demoralizes a woman. So a majority of men in politics, we want to come fighting women with their sexuality, in the sense that you are vying for a certain seat. The men will first want to start blackmailing you and making stories about you, who you sleep with, who you have befriended, who I don't know you were seen with, and they will create stories. They're not just men. They will even use women for the same, to start tarnishing your name on the same. So when it comes to politics, it is where you realize you start being violated. Your rights get violated because of the beliefs and the culture that people come from, that when they start fighting you in your sexuality, then they start demeaning you. Then outside politics and outside here, you will realize that a lot is happening and it's not being addressed. In fact, we're only talking about these 16 days, but I can tell you this has to be an everyday creating of awareness. Like I can tell you a story.